Hi, and a huge welcome to the Sovereign Free Life podcast. I'm here with Keira from the US, and Keira is a very wise woman that has so much knowledge in holistic health. You have 21 years as a professional medical Qigong practitioner. You are a Tree Gong healer where you mix the knowledge about Qigong with forest bathing and connecting to the elements, to nature. And in that way, really come in contact with your own wisdom. And you really have this beautiful holistic approach where you're blending the East and the West, and you have formed the seven element theory that you also practice, and you've been doing a lot of workshops and courses around this knowledge that you have. So I'm really, really honored to have you here and let you share your wisdom, your story, and everything you've been going through over the years. So, yes, would love for you to just say hi and let people know a little bit about your story and your background, and yeah, and take it from there.
Thank you so much, Maneka. It is such a gift to be here. And hello to all of you amazing humans out there. It is my pleasure to share with you. I was very blessed to be raised by a back to the lander hippie. We moved to the forest when I was 2 years old. And my mother was a yoga practitioner and meditator, and so I was
Mm.
exposed to that world as a very young child. At 5, I actually lost my father. He
Oh.
passed on from this world, and that opened in me a desire to understand. I really wanted to know where my papa went, right?
Mm.
And I had read books about reincarnation and this idea that there might be something after life. And so that is when, at 5 years old, I sat in my very first meditation practice that was self
Mm.
guided. And I took a journey and I really expanded my whole idea of what is possible right in that moment. And
Wow.
it
Mm.
was the advent of a lifelong journey of self healing practices. I've been a yoga practitioner for my entire life and became a teacher and then a massage therapist. And then that led into the Qigong world, where I eventually got the medical Qigong certification that Maneka spoke of. And all through the way, I've been really connected to the trees and nature. I had a super powerful experience when I was in my early 20s, connecting to a tree that my mom named Grandpa Cedar. She
Oh.
was in Hawaii and she had been visiting the tree every single day before she left. And when I went to visit the tree, I just felt this longing from the tree. It was as if the tree were saying to me, "Where's that lady that visits me every day? I miss her." And so I visualized this image of my mother sitting on a beach in Hawaii. And I said, "Grandpa Cedar, please look out for my mom way over there in Hawaii." And then I just pulled my energy back and said, "We'll stay connected." And it was so powerful that the next morning I wanted to know, am I really still connected to that tree? Can I stay connected when I'm not actually touching the tree? And so I sat in meditation and sent my awareness back to the tree, and I was shown an electrical web of light that
Mm.
surrounds our entire world, through which the trees and us communicate.
Mm.
And it actually mirrors the mycelial network, which I didn't know about at the time, but later when I read Paul Stamets's book, Mycelium Running, and I saw
Mm.
pictures of the mycelial network, which is the brain of the forest, where all the
Mhm.
roots connect through electrical connections of mushroom roots. It looked exactly like what Grandpa Cedar showed me that day.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Uh-huh.
I that has
Mm.
become such a deep part of my work. That's really the reason Tree Gong was birthed as I was diving deep into medical qigong and
Mm,
learning
mm.
public speaking, I really wanted to tell people about this because the trees have told me that they need the people to help them hold the consciousness field in unification. And
Mm,
there's so much divisiveness among the people, and the trees are calling us back into unity. So I
mm.
really always encourage everyone to put aside your self doubts, your fears of judgment, and go become a tree hugger. The trees want you
I
to hug
love
them.
that.
They really, really do.
It's so funny, I grew up in a hippie family as well, with both my mother and father. And my mother, we used to, I think it was when we like walked from kindergarten or something, and we walked past this birch tree, and we would always stop and hug this tree. It was like this tree was our friend. For me, it was the most natural thing ever. It's like, of course, we gotta hug the tree.
Yes,
I
exactly.
know exactly. And then, I had a very powerful spiritual awakening when I was like, well, it started when I was 14, but then it's been evolving, just landed very solidly in the present moment. Just understood who I was and that, I have God within me and all of that. And since then, looking at trees is just like a magical experience. I can't explain it. It's like when you feel the tree, because I have this way of seeing life that where there's a lot of unity, where I can like feel things around me. And when I feel the trees, I like, yeah, just be living out here in the forest and like driving through in the road with all the trees. It's like I can almost start to cry because it's just so, so beautiful. And I just wish everyone would see and experience what I experience. Because I think a lot of the time with nature, and when as you grow up, it's like you shut that off. It's like, oh, it's just a tree, or someone is, oh, there's nothing special. You kind of shut off that sensitivity
Hmm.
to it. But yeah, I'm so happy we have an agreement there.
Me too. And it's not just that. It so many people I have met people and I wouldn't have even known this was somebody's reality until I met someone who was raised completely indoors, not allowed to go outside to
Right.
play. I was
Oh my
pushed outside to
God.
play when I was young.
Is that
And
extreme?
so
Oh my God.
if we've met even one of those people, that means there are a lot more, right?
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
told not
Mm,
to let anyone in the door, lock the doors, stay inside, don't go out. And so this
mm.
person, I was able to give their very first tree climbing experience at
Wow.
28 years old. And so that was part of my like
Mm,
calling when I realized there are people that don't know how to connect to nature, not
mm.
just because they went to public school and they got put into a box, but like they may have been in a box since birth and
Oh my
never
God.
been
Yeah.
actually
Mm,
recognizing where their food comes from,
mm,
where their
mm,
water comes from, where what that nature is actually an important
mm.
part of embodying full health to be able to be out in
Definitely,
nature and
definitely. And
mhm,
I've studied this actually quite a lot. Also as my role as a teacher, before I went into, the online space, I was a teacher and actually studied like forest pedagogics. So I had every week I had one whole day out in the forest with my kids. And the funny
yes.
thing was, to see also what happens to these children, because some of the kids, with special needs, or they couldn't, be in the classroom environment, they were just thriving in the forest environment, and
Mhm.
also relationships between the kids, like were completely different and so harmonious. And like the way I could teach things out in the forest was just so much easier, and we
Yeah.
we did so many like games and educational like parts in it, but it was just fun like all the way through, and everyone was just on board with it. So, something happens when we go out in nature, and it really breaks my heart when you think about these people that don't have a relationship with nature, because that's in my studies of that. If you want to take care of nature, you first have to have a relationship, right? With
Hmm.
nature. And there's so many that don't have that. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and we know that, there's an epidemic of addiction in our society, and we know
Mm,
that addiction isn't the disease, it's a symptom of disconnection and not having what we need to thrive. And
mm,
we can find that connection in nature that we sometimes are lacking in our human relationships. And then it can help us come back into our human relationships with that open hearted feeling and a greater understanding of our connectivity. And so it just feels so important to bring the children into nature when they're young.
mm.
I'm so grateful that you got to do that work with your kids.
Yeah, it's magic. But tell me a little bit more about your story there. Like, how did you come to that? How did you go into this holistic healing and bringing all these different teachings together? Would love to hear
Mm.
some more about that.
Okay, well, as I said, I was a lifelong yoga practitioner, and then I was a young mother. And so, yoga really, to me, as a young person, was what kept me aligned and
Mm,
kept me feeling good in my body. I struggled a lot with, growing up without my dad and with all the things that that involves. I struggled a lot with
mm,
being accepted with human relationships. That's part of why I connected to trees so much. And yoga was really how I would bring myself back if I started to go into depression or anxiety or things like that. I'm so grateful I had that tool.
mm,
And when my fourth son was born, I had kind of fallen off my practice. So I decided to go back to yoga classes. And that was how I met my very first yoga teacher trainer. It was like complete magic. I'd only been working with her for a couple months, and she decided to offer a free apprenticeship. And
wow.
I was like, I'm sure there's
Mm.
somebody she knows better she wants to work with, but I really want to do this. I'm going to apply. And she picked me.
Oh,
It was
wow.
like, and so it was just like meant to be. It just made
Mm,
so much sense. And during my teen years, from 10 to 18, I was passionate about theater. That was where I thought my career
really?
was going,
Mhm.
and probably would have if I hadn't had kids at 20 instead of finishing college and all of that. But it was like, oh, a yoga teacher, of course, perfect. and
Mm.
and I immediately thought, this is what all of that theater training was for. I know how to enunciate, I know how to project, I know how to improvise. This is perfect. And then after working as a yoga teacher, I really wanted more knowledge of the human body so that I could help my students to work with whatever they challenges and injuries they were dealing with more effectively. And so I went to
Mm,
massage school and became a massage therapist, mostly intending just to bring that knowledge into my teaching. And I did work as a massage therapist for a while. And that's actually how I met my first Qigong teacher, because he was offering a really amazing deal on a continuing education program. And I immediately went through all of his trainings, became an advanced facilitator in his programs, was worked with his group for a while, traveling around doing these big seminars and
mm,
teaching and selling books and, networking and all of that. And that was how I met I've had a couple of different medical qigong teachers, and I actually met them both through various avenues through that organization. And then when that fell away and I was no longer working with the group, and I had a year and a half passionate relationship that I thought was going to last the rest of my life and then suddenly was gone.
mm.
I realized in that moment that I was meant to do something bigger. And that
Mm,
was when I first started learning how to work in the online space because I live in a small town. I can't reach that many people on the ground hands on. And I
mm,
wanted to reach people worldwide. And so I
mm,
brought my healing gifts online. And I was also going through that public speaking training I mentioned earlier and the medical qigong training. And while I was bringing my existing gifts online, learning how to navigate online business, it was a big learning year for me. and and so I brought Tree Gong Healing. That was when Tree Gong Healing started. And
mm.
I used to have a weekly show called Tree Gong Healing,
Oh, wow.
Messages from the Forest. And I would bring
Mm.
through wisdom from different trees every week. And that was really how I built my first online business
Mm,
and starting with just private clients, and then I expanded into group programs. I did a year-long program. I taught the healer's journey of mastery. And back when I was working with the Qigong group, I had a friend who told me we were talking about the five element theories because there's the
mm,
Chinese five element theory, and then there's the Vedic slash Western Chinese element theory that is more widely known.
mm.
And, and he told me, sorry, Kira, you can't bring them together. People have tried. And I was like, okay, whatever. And fine, and said no more about it. But then I really started to, in my own personal work, because all of my work really starts first with myself. When in
Mm,
my own practice, I'm a Gemini rising, and my brain is really active. It's translating everything all the time. So when I'm in my personal practice, my brain is like, oh, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And so I realized, there's seven chakras, there's seven elements because the two five element theories share three of them. The earth, the fire, and the water are in both systems. And so
mm,
it's not about air and spirit are also tree and metal. There's seven elements. And it really has enriched my experience of the world to look at it that way. So, this is where, like, I'm in this entrepreneurial hustle. I'm cycling through my clients. I'm launching programs, and now I have to launch again, and now I have to try to re-enroll my clients, and now I have to do this and I have to do that. And I ended up in a burnout health crisis. And I was covered with eczema. I was completely covered, hands, arms, body, face, weeping, oozing, burning, itching. It
oh
was
no.
insane. And I just
Oh,
knew that there was something about the water.
okay.
And I
Okay. Sorry.
decided to do a distilled water cleanse because
Mm,
distilled water pulls everything from your system. So I was like, I'm going to do a distilled water cleanse. And when I got the distiller, I started seeing what was actually coming out of my
mm.
tap water in the bottom of the distiller. And I was
Oh,
like, I'm
yeah.
not going back to drinking the tap water. I know I can't drink distilled water more than 10 days at a time, or it's going to start pulling all the minerals from my body. What am I going to do? And that's when I found the community that introduced me to Maneka, and it was totally random, to be honest. I see this young woman totally empowered in her business, and I'm like, go girl, you got this, woohoo, just cheering her on. And then she reaches out and was like, what makes you want to watch my webinar? And I'm like, I don't know. What does make me want to watch your webinar? Sure, why not? I'll check it out. And then I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the solution to my water
Mm.
and my business burnout, both in
Ah.
one solution. And
Oh, it's
and yeah,
amazing.
so it's amazing. So now I've seamlessly brought in all of my gifts in a way that is nourishing to my nervous system, and I never need to face burnout again. I'm so
Oh,
grateful.
wow. Yeah. Because I think, like where I started with the business, I was almost burnt out, and I think there's so many out there that just follow the status quo. They follow this narrative that they've been told, and they don't even try to understand that, there are different ways. Like, what would you like to say to people that just are stuck in this fight and flight and they don't see a way out, and maybe they don't have a meaningful full job, or they don't feel like we talked a little bit before, like how this creativity and fun and that the higher levels of consciousness in a way that are just like in flow and ease and fun and doesn't really get space. Like, what would you like to say to them? Because I guess you've met a lot of people during these years. Like, what are the key points you would like to communicate to? What have you seen during
Mhm.
the years?
Yeah. First and foremost, what I want to say to you, if you are not feeling nourished and supported by the work that you're doing in your life, remember you have one precious life here on earth. And each and every moment of your life is a precious gift. And it's, as Maneka was saying, I believe creativity is a basic human need. It's not something to aspire to wait till you have enough time for. It's really actually important that we bring through our gifts and talents to be fulfilled in this life. And yeah, it's so important to learn to put yourself first, your health first, your
Mm,
time with your
mm,
family first, your
mm,
creative passions first. And when you can actually align your financial income source with your personal values, it's a complete game changer in the entire
mm.
experience of your life.
Mm.
That's the main thing I think I would want to say to those people.
Oh, amazing. Give some hope for that, because I think a lot of people, maybe they had that at the start of their career. They thought, like for me, when I was a teacher, I was like, yes, I was passionate about the kids. And yeah, I want to give them like that creativity and be heard and seen and let them be themselves. And then you're just burdened by all these musts and, bureaucracy, all of that. And it just disappears. You don't know what you're doing there any longer.
Yeah.
It's like, where did it go?
Yeah, and when we're having to sell our services, it ends up being the same thing. That was my
Mm,
experience.
mm,
I am so passionate about what I offer in the healing arts.
mm,
And when I'm having to be in constantly wearing all the hats, I don't get to really enjoy giving my gifts because
mm, mm,
I'm like in this constant entrepreneurial grind, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so
And you're doing it
the other
alone,
thing,
right? Yeah. Mm,
yeah, the other thing that was coming through when you were talking is I know you talk a lot about sovereignty. And I know when I stepped away from working for other people really I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, really, even though I've worked for other people here and there. I've been an entrepreneur because I wanted to be with my kids and I wanted to share my gifts. But I also invested in some business partnerships that were not aligned and not supportive. And
mm,
working with other people started to become also a burden. And so that was what brought me to be a solopreneur in the first place. And I thought at first this idea of independence is sovereignty. I can take care of myself. I can do everything. I built a room by myself,
mm,
even. I'm like, I can do everything. But then I'm like, but I don't want to have to do everything. And
mm,
so
mm,
when you can be in a balanced collaboration in a give and receive relationship, in a community that lifts and supports all of its members to succeed, that taking the competition out and really lifting up everyone with an equal opportunity to succeed, like we have
Mm,
in our community,
mm,
that's true sovereignty. Because
mm,
sovereignty is not just independence, it's not just the ability to go out and do it on your own, it's the ability to stand in your power and generate healthy, balanced collaborations in
mm,
all of
mm.
your relationships in life.
And that is so important. I worked as a coach for many years before I studied to be a teacher, and I think 5 years full time, and I was fully booked. I was doing good, but so much work, like always the stress. Like actually, I could work more than an ordinary job because it was the marketing, it was the planning, it was like following up with people. It was, all yeah, it was so much stress in the end. And then
Yeah.
also like I had two kids on my own, after a terrible divorce also. And then if I was like sick a weekend, I would have like maybe a third of my income that month was gone. Like no one could jump in. It was not, it was all depending on me also. So,
Yeah.
and I think this way that we're working and this new ways of earning an income and doing business. Actually, I have like a top level business coach that works in university, like teaching business strategy, that came into my business because she saw, well, this is the future. Exactly
Yeah.
what we are doing with collaboration. You don't do everything on your own. You have like a solid, very trustworthy model that to stand on. And she's like, yeah, this is exactly what I've been teaching. So, and you can feel it. Like you said, I would love for you to talk about that as well, about because I know you know a lot about the nervous system, the elements, like
Mhm.
how do we, how do you see that we can find that like balance inside? Like, what are the key aspects and how does that like resonate with what we're doing here in the online space for you?
Yeah. Oh, what a deep and wide question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really resonated with what you shared around, we have to market, sell, and then produce the product when we're just a solopreneur.
Mm,
And here we do get to take care of our nervous system, and we get to focus on first our inner work and moving from there. And I think that's the most important thing. And you can do this in a traditional business. And yet, then you're, like Maneka said, then if you want to take a vacation or you get ill or your kids get ill, then it's a big hit on your income versus being able to be held in community and knowing that you don't have to do it all. You don't have to be every single part of the business. You get to be in your power, in your center. And for me, the biggest thing to remember, the most important technology to utilize for nervous system balancing is the breath.
mm,
Remembering that the breath is the primary nutrient of life. It's the first thing you do when you come out of your mother's birth canal. It's the last thing you do when you leave your body. And it's the only thing that you have both autonomic nervous system control, so it will happen whether you try or not. You have to try not to breathe, in fact, if you want to not breathe for a while. And you have conscious control over it. So
mm,
that's the place where that's the main hack. I would say breath work is the biggest hack to finding your inner compass, reconnecting to your inner compass, balancing your nervous system through stressful times, And really, it's something we can do in community and connection that's really nourishing in that way as well. So that's the primary thing. And then, of course, hydration, because we are mostly made of water.
Mm,
And water is our primary physical nutrient, dense nutrient that we need to
mm,
take into our bodies. You
mm,
can only live a few minutes without breath. You can live up to like a month without food. You don't want to really go that long, but you'll survive.
mm,
And you can only live a few days without water, and
mm,
you'll be immediately noticing that you need to conserve energy if you are not drinking water, right? It's
mm,
and so
mm,
that is also like drinking really good water. I see everybody going around with their plastic water bottles thinking that they're hydrating themselves, and they probably need to drink a lot of that water and still feel thirsty. That's been my experience when I've had to depend on bottled water. I used to have nightmares actually where I would be so thirsty and drinking and drinking and drinking, and I could feel the coolness, but it was never parching the dryness. And I think that's because at the time that I had
mm,
those nightmares, I think I was drinking water that wasn't hydrating me,
mm,
and it
mm,
would just go right through, and then it's pulling the minerals out of your body, or it's just creating a lot of urinary spasms because you're having to go all the time, and so it's a very important to understand how to hydrate
mm,
correctly,
mm,
and remembering that your body is mostly water and you are an electrical being.
mm,
And
mm,
you probably know that electricity and water act very similarly. They both move down to the earth. And
mm,
you all know that you don't want to take your hair dryer in the bath because the water is going to amplify that electricity, right? But we do want the water in it to amplify our electricity.
mm,
So
mm,
then you are dispelling things. It can even dispel things like chronic fatigue syndrome and just like the burnout that happens in the mid-afternoon when we're properly hydrated. It can take away our body pains. It can make us not really get those seasonal illnesses that are coming around, or have a much milder version than those around us when our bodies are properly hydrated, and when we're taking deeper breaths now and then to also expand the energy in our bodies, and
mm,
and we
mm.
it expands our capacity for how much we can hold in our lives, so that
Mm.
we don't face burnout as easily, even if we do choose to continue being a solopreneur.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I love to explore that because it's so interesting. You say the electricity, the breath, because now we're moving to like what is the life force? Because I know in Qigong, in the Vedas, like there is the life force within us, right? And I heard someone say once, I think it was a disciple of what's Ravi Shankar, the guru in India. I think he said that depression is just that you have too low life energy,
Yeah.
actually. And then we go around and maybe many people don't know, but the bad water with like toxins and radiation and also negative thinking and stress and all of that actually brings your like the electricity in your body. It creates this oxidative stress that like it's almost like a battery where the battery actually runs out. So if you're
Yeah.
feeling exhausted, it's completely natural in a way if you're like ex just being exposed to this and you don't know why you have these headaches and you're tired all the time and like yeah, I would love for you to just talk about like life force, prana, that kind of
Yeah.
energy. What is that? And because in, like you said, in sovereignty, I've been speaking to, as in a lot of people about sovereignty, but it is there in the basis of life with the water, like the elements that like learning to master like this your own life force in a way.
Yeah,
And it's so
yes.
important to understand what it actually is. So I'd love to hear your take on that. What is life force
Yeah,
and how can we
absolutely.
increase it?
Yes. And, the word Qigong means working with energy. And
Mm,
so, yes, like you said, Qi and prana are the same thing. It's that life force. And in both of these traditions, the life force follows the breath. And the life force follows the mind. So we can move the life force with our mind. We
mm,
can move the life force by doing gentle movements that are synced with the breath. And you can, when you practice Qigong, that's really what it's all about, is feeling that there is life force in the air around you. The life force is right there in the trees and the plants, in the air that we breathe, in the sunbeams coming down from the sky, in the welcoming of the morning sun, in the waters that flow. And when the water is activated and alive, then it is containing life force that we can drink physically. And so this is why the pollution in our air and our water affects us so strongly, because then we're taking in what's meant to be pure life force energy. And when you breathe in a forest, you are really receiving pure life force energy, remembering that the trees exhale what we need for life, and our exhale is what they need for life. And so there's such a beautiful balance there. And because we are mostly water, that's why I keep coming back to the water as such an important aspect of our life force. Water carries the electricity. It also holds memories. It holds our emotions. It follows, just like I said, that the medical Qigong practitioners say the Qi follows the mind, the Qi follows the breath. The life force energy that we put into our water is also what we receive from it. And so we can talk to the water that's in our glass. And some of you may be familiar with Dr. Emoto's work, where he crystallized the water into different shapes, and you could see these beautiful crystals like snowflakes when he said things like love and appreciation, and then they turned into like slimy yellow blobs if he used the words hate or frustration. And so there's also the recognition that how we talk to ourselves is stored in the water molecules in our bodies.
mm,
And
wow.
our
Mm,
bodies will feel more vibrant and alive when we tell them how much we love them and appreciate them and express gratitude to ourselves. And when we get down on ourselves because we're not performing, then our bodies will actually become less capable of performing. And so it's
yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's not funny, but it's, yeah, it's a reality. And I think, I mean, in our community, I mean, a lot of people are like, but what is all of that? What does that have to do with business and like online space? Like, how can you, and like in this community, it's so amazing. It starts with you when you step into, like you said, I do morning routines where I have my morning scripts that I read to myself. So I'm actually, sending these signals to my whole system. Like, this is where we're going. I appreciate you so much. Like, this is the positive, like really feeding yourself with that. And in the beginning, when I got in contact with this, I was like, oh, that can't work, or like, oh, that's just a thing. But once you start to do it, And then you see, okay, there is something else working here because things ha start to happen so fast. And the things that you have like said in the script is like, yeah, I said it there. And like, now it's happening here. It's like, wow, this is actually,
Yeah.
correlating. And like you say, um, to first fill up your own cup and be whole. And the way you do business then is just in such a loving, caring, like whole. If you are whole, if you want to have holistic business, it's kind of good to first start with yourself. Like that's what
Hmm.
I love about this community as well. It's like some people come in maybe from like low ticket network marketing where they've been stressing like and they ask me like how many sales do I have to do? What should I do? How can I get started? And I'm like, the first thing you do is just take a deep breath and just, find yourself first. Then we can talk. I'm like, you can't do business here in that way. We don't function
Yes.
like that.
100%. And we when we do online business and social marketing, we're doing attraction marketing, which means that we want to attract in the people that we want to work with. And when we're in our heart and in our highest vibration, we become literally magnetic.
Mm,
And it no longer becomes so much about what do I do as how do I hold this presence through whatever shows up for me.
mm,
And that really is so powerful. It's such a deep potency when we are able to do that. Even just feeling it for a moment, and then you're like, okay, now I fell away from it. How do I get back into that place? Oh, there it is. Take a deeper breath, touch your heart, come back to your true purpose here, and
mm,
then everything else unfolds so beautifully. And of course we still have to do work, and we have like actual tasks to do, so I don't want it to be like this ethereal idea that all we do is breathe and the magic happens.
no,
But we
not at
start
all.
there
Yeah.
because that's when you are able to come from that place of sovereignty, and the self-doubt no longer gets in our way, the fear
Mm,
of
mm,
judgment no longer gets in our way, and then we take the most aligned actions that are the most likely to move the needle
mm.
without having to wade through all that muck.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember like when I got started and when you find that strong why, for me, it was like, I want my time with my kids. It's a non-negotiable. I can't see their life be spent on a kindergarten and someone else sees them more than I do. And when
Yeah.
you have that strong why, and then the tasks, the do's, it happens. Like, or if you're like in love with someone, if you have a partner, like you'll do anything for them, right? Like it's not a question of like, oh, should I cook dinner for them or like da da da, like this and that. Like you love them, you want to give them everything. It's like if you, like you say, if you fall in love with that bigger vision of you, like the bigger vision of where you're going, you're unstoppable. I mean, that's what I see with people that have that. And
Mhm.
also like you said, when you step into that, when you step into like, wow, I get to be this now. It's not later. It's like I'm already here. It's not
Yeah.
about becoming something. It's more like letting yourself out. You're already there.
100%. And we're already here, and so often so many people get caught in, well, first I have to do this and then I'll be able to do that, and I've totally been there. That was part of how I ended up building a room for myself, which was an amazing experience, and I'm glad that I did it. And then I realized, oh, I'm in this first I have to do this and then I can do that phase. What if I get myself back into who I am, and that when we're truly authentically in our divine purpose, for lack of better words, then we actually can jump timelines. We actually
Mm,
can accelerate things in
mm,
unexpected ways and
mm,
really move into that bigger vision much more quickly than we may have imagined previously.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, and that's so powerful, and also like really have not having to find hundreds of people, but like I think for me, I've created great success, but I think I've found like a handful of people that have that driving force, that have that vision, and and then we work together, we collaborate, and we do like we have fun together, we do stuff together, and then it just creates this huge ripple effect because that's when you what you want to create, right? It's just like when you plant a seed and it grows by itself. Like, of course, you have to water it, take care of it, these things, but the growing happens in the right environment, right? And I think a lot of people are just not in the right environment, like have a lot of
Yeah.
negative people around them. They have a draining job. They have like living in a place where they might not want to be. And it's hard then to have that growth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was
Mm,
thinking about how, an acorn actually already is an oak tree. It
mm, mm,
hasn't, even though it hasn't sprouted and grown yet, right?
mm,
But what if that acorn had other trees coming up and telling it, "You're not an oak tree. You're never going to grow into anything. You're just going to be an acorn forever." And we actually have that. We
yeah,
get
that
that kind of stuff told to us all
all
the
the time.
time.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so really it can be a process to get those voices out of our head that aren't ours and really connect to the authentic voice of who we truly are and who
Mm,
we're meant to
mm,
be. And I feel like that's the primary thing to remember is you already are that powerful. You
mm,
already are that biggest vision of yourself. All you need to do is trust that and believe and step into it and grow into it. And
mm.
yeah, it's then it
Definitely.
happens.
And I sometimes I like to remember that, when you were born, you didn't have all these ideas. You didn't have all of that. And when you were a little child, things were still magic and still were, it was like you had that curiosity and creativity. And actually I'm doing this beautiful container with my leaders in the team. And one of the things we talked about last time that came up was, well, what did you love to do when you were a child? Like what you were you interested in? And like to come back to that kind of innocence and that childlike joy that we had and kind of get to, well, that's where I want to like do business from and work from and get to live from. Because I think a lot of people
Yes.
have this strange idea of business. It's like you wear a tie and you're very serious and you have to have tons of education and this and that, and you're very like shut off. And that's not the new paradigm business. Like, if you ask me, it's you being fully you, you being fully supported, you being fully aligned with your biggest vision, and then having a beautiful community supporting you to actually get there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it's so important also to because we have to enjoy the journey before we get there, right? And
mhm,
so I feel like it's so important to prioritize what is most important to you right now? And this is kind of looping around to what I said earlier about
mm,
really allowing yourself to feel worthy of that you
mm,
get to enjoy this life. You get to do whatever it is that your heart is just singing about. And maybe you've been in a position that your heart got silenced and you can't really hear it anymore.
mm,
And that's kind of what we're here for, to help you reconnect to your heart song and believe that it's possible for you to live your greatest dreams because it really is. And all you have to do is choose that that's how you're going to start is by choosing one thing that you know is going to brighten up your day and doing it every single day.
That is so true. Like really nourishing all of you. Like not just the,
Mhm.
I mean, we have the physical, emotional, but the spiritual, it needs to be nourished. I think so many people are living without that sacredness or like that magic in their life. And I think there is a big longing for that actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with
But I would
that.
love to also go back to your story a bit because I know. I mean, life isn't like always a dance on roses, even though, like, of course, we can be positive, we can connect to ourselves. But I know you've met a lot of challenges, like along your path as well, and would love to. And you talked earlier about like it's also about how you meet those challenges and like how you also give yourself what you need through those challenges. Would you like to share a little bit about that, like the ups and the downs, and like how what you learned from that and how you can handle that?
Yeah, I have I mentioned my father, and I have walked with loss throughout my life. My father, my mom's sister also left when I was young, and then my little sister left when I was just starting my online business.
Oh no.
And
Mm,
at the time, I almost pulled back, and yet my sister is like me. My little sister and I share a lot of similarities, and
mm.
I haven't mentioned this, but my one of my soul's big missions is to publish fiction. I'm also a novel
Oh,
writer.
really? Oh, I love
And my
that.
sister, when my sister was diagnosed with cancer, she
Mm.
was working what she thought was her dream job at the Nature Conservancy,
Oh,
but
wow.
she couldn't do
Mm,
it anymore.
mm,
And she had to make her art.
mhm.
And so it started with drawing, it evolved into creating comics to help her cope with what was coming up for her through her cancer journey.
Oh, wow. Mm,
And then a friend said, "You've got to put these out." So she put them on a blog. And then her husband worked at a literary magazine, and they got
mhm.
published in the magazine. And then another publisher saw that and asked her to make a book. And so
Oh,
in the
wow.
last 5 years of her life, she published a graphic memoir, a coloring book, and finished her poetry book just in time to be published posthumously. And
Oh,
so, in the midst of heartbreak, my baby sister is gone, and she'll
mm,
never get to read my words. So, that could have stopped me.
mm,
Now the
mm,
person I most wanted to read my work will never read my work. But
mm,
instead, I chose to live on her behalf, to
mm,
do things that she would have loved to do the things that I love to do on her
mm,
behalf.
mm,
And that really brought me into great success in my coaching business.
mm,
And
mm.
then 2 years after finding this community, I actually lost my second born son. He
No,
didn't he
mm,
didn't
so sad.
quite make 29.
Mm,
And that was the most difficult thing I've ever walked with.
mm,
Losing, even with all of those experiences of how to navigate grief
mm,
and doing it in such an empowering way with my little sister,
mm,
losing a child that you carried in your womb also
mm,
includes a physical grieving that the
mm,
womb can feel physically. And
mm,
so I knew that I needed to take a step away from my business. And
mm,
I'd only been doing this new business for 2 years. I had been quite quick about getting it rolling and doing all the things and taking care of myself, like you had been talking about, the way you encourage your teammates. And so the magic of that was that by consciously choosing to just be with myself and take a step away from social media and heal and walk with the trees and grieve and commune with my womb and allow myself to just be,
mm,
I actually made a sale in my business, even though I'm not as far along as Maneka. I had done enough work that I had put enough seeds out there that one of them sprouted. And I was able to bring in a decent amount of income without actually doing anything in my
Wow.
business.
Mm, mm.
And so then I was like, "Oh, wow. This works and faster than I thought because I didn't think I'd gotten far enough to where that would happen." And so that
Mm,
was like pure magic, and it brought me back in. And I was the last year it took me some time to reintegrate fully as I am now, but it
mm,
really grounded in that what we have here is really unlike anything else, because
mm,
any other, like you talked about low ticket network marketing, I didn't really like ever try it seriously because I never took it seriously, but I did join some of those low ticket network marketing groups with some friends of mine.
mm,
And if you don't continue to buy the auto ships, you don't have a business. You're there you can't do anything with it, and you're if you've built it to some place, it's just going to be back to square one if you take a year or
mm,
two off. But
mm,
because of the way that our system is designed here, you don't actually fall off. You get to put it aside and it stays where it was. And then
mm.
when you come back, you get to build from where you left it. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like such a precious gift to me that
Mm,
I have
mm,
that I'm able to say, after taking 2 years off, I'm still at that cusp of
mm,
expansion that I was at. And so now that I'm all the way back in, I'm ready to just blow up and really make the impact that I came here to make in this world.
mm. Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And oh my God, I can't even imagine like you losing a child and the process of that. And yeah, I'm happy you're coming through that. But I guess, yeah, it's almost like a piece of yourself, right? It's like I lost my father, was it 2.5 years ago or something? And that's also it's almost like a piece of you that dies. And
Yeah.
at the same time, like you said, you can feel how but he still lives here. Like he still lives in my heart and he still and you almost like you said, it's like you start to, wow, I'm alive. Like what a gift. You can really like shift it to
Yeah.
that. But of course the grieving has to happen. But I feel also actually just 10 days after my father passed away, it was very sudden. It was very tragic. We had a whole festival in our
Oh,
community planned in Stockholm, in Sweden, in my hometown, with everyone coming there. The biggest leaders in our whole community, Balazs, Christian Clint, everyone was coming there. And I was like, am I going to cancel this? Like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't cancel this. I was like arranging it. And it's like, no, it has to happen. And actually being there, like 10 days after my father passed, it was the greatest healing I could ever get. I remember because everyone, there were workshops and there was like, it's both the mindset and the skill sets that we talked about. So I was crying like, what?
yeah.
I remember Balazs, one of our top leaders, he was screaming beside me like, what? And
Wow.
then the next point, we were like, yeah, systems and automations and this and that, like super intellectual. And then we were dancing and having fun. And it's like, I love that all of us gets to be there. Like, we get to be
Mhm.
emotional. We get to be super, like, logical. We get to be just in fun and celebration. And then in a way, like this community is also so much healing when you go through these things. That's what I feel that you're never
Mhm.
alone in a way with
Yeah.
whatever you're going through. And I really got to experience
Mhm.
that because I think,
Oh, yeah. I
mm,
got when my son passed, I got this whole slew of the sweetest, most heartfelt video messages from my team. And
Mm,
I just felt so held, even as I was choosing to take a step back for a time. I felt so held in the community.
mm,
And
mm,
I love what you said about how they're a part of us and they're still with us. I actually was having a conversation with my son not that long ago where I was like, is this really you, or is it just me talking to myself? And he's like, well, Mom, I always was a part of you, even when I was in that separate body. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, exactly. I mean,
And
that's
so
what.
we really can I'm sorry, we really can
No,
live
no,
on their
no. You
behalf.
continue. You continue.
Yeah.
No, but that's so beautiful to feel like nothing can take that love away in the heart, and that
Mhm.
closeness in the heart is there all the time. At least that's kind of what I'm coming through to, like after these years without my father. It's like that is eternal. You can never take that away. Because in the beginning, it was like you thought you would have to stop loving. Like you
Mhm.
can never stop loving someone that's like in your heart that way.
Yeah, true love really is forever. It really
Mm,
is. And
definitely.
yeah, the
Mm,
more I've had the opportunity to commune with my loved ones on the other side of life, when my sister was freshly passed, I wasn't able to go to her poetry book release, and I was feeling really left out and lonely. My sister and my mom were there with my brother-in-law, and I went outside to these two oak trees that are close together. I call them my sister trees, and I put one hand on each. And the first thing they said to me was, "I know, we missed Tava too." And I was like, "But she never came here. She was never here at this place." And they were like, "That doesn't matter." And then this wind came up out of nowhere
mm,
and blew in my face, and I heard her voice on the wind,
mm,
and it was
mm,
saying,
mm,
"I'm free on the wind,
mm.
just like before we were born. Don't you remember? I
Oh.
followed you. Now you follow me." It was so sweet. And so I was like, wow, I'm really like, these experiences have allowed me to open so much to the possibilities that of what is this life? What is eternity? What is this all about? And
Mm, mm,
you know, it it really is so precious to be able to come back in and into what is most life affirming, and how can I walk with that,
mm,
that
mm,
because death is a part of life. It
mm.
is this sometimes quite incomprehensible journey that we're on here. And yeah, it's such a precious gift.
Oh, that's beautiful, Kira. Oh, so much wisdom here, and I think we could talk forever. It's just like I feel like meeting another sister in this
Likewise.
community. So thank you for that, and would love though to kind of start to round up with where do you see us going, like both in the community that we're in, but also in the world. Like where do you see? Yeah, what's your vision moving forward? I always love to ask that to kind of widen the horizons a bit. Or what do you feel
Yeah.
need to
Well,
happen?
with the current state of the world, especially being in the United States and feeling like I have no alignment with anything that's happening in my government.
Mm.
Like one of my friends said, inside of the word patriot is riot. And I was like, that's true. And and then seeing, how many people are just stuck in life circumstances that are untenable, that so
Mm,
much suffering in the world, so much starvation, not having access to clean water. There are so many big things that we can sometimes feel like, how can I possibly make a difference in this
mm,
world? It's so
mm,
crazy. It's so out of control. And it's really easy. And that's why I don't allow myself to get caught up in the news, but I do like to know what everybody else is paying attention to and what's going on in other people's worlds. And I decided a long time ago, an activist when I was young, and then I decided, political routes aren't really where we can make a real difference in the world. It's actually, what do we do on the ground, in our homes, in our communities, and primarily in our own hearts and bodies and minds. And
mm,
so I see what we have here in our community as a solution on all of those levels, because we
mm,
can't trust the world economy to take care of us. We can't trust our governments to take care of us. We
mm,
can't trust that anybody else is going to take care of us. However, we can build through our very unique collaborative income model a worldwide community that makes a real difference. We can
mm,
create our own regenerative economy, and
mm,
we already are. We're doing it, and it's
mm,
making a
mm,
difference. It's already made a difference in so many lives.
mm,
And so I really, when I look at all the divisiveness, I really look for, what do we have in common as a human race?
mm,
Because our DNA as humans is 99.99% the same. All those variations you see of skin color and eye color and hair color, tall, short, wide, thin, those are minor little tweaks in our code, right?
mm,
And we actually share most of our DNA code even with trees. All life on the planet is one family. And
mm, mm,
so that's what I see, like the really big vision that I see is just to really connect to that higher purpose of humanity, to be in family. And, we all have indigenous ancestors, no matter where in the world you come from.
mm,
Your people once were tribal people, counseling around the fire and taking care of the children as one family.
mm,
That the we're not where we've in our modern society, so often we feel separate and alone.
mm,
And my vision for myself is to be a unifier, and also at the same time, I'm like bringing through my creative works, I'm bringing through my healing gifts, and I'm an ocean girl, and I really imagine myself creating a life for myself of full freedom and choice, fully
mm,
being able to be in my sovereignty to choose where I live, when and where I travel to, who I work with. I never ever have to work with someone that it doesn't align with me. That is another thing that we really get to embrace here, is that
mm,
when, and we can't have freedom unless everyone is free. And
mm,
so everyone being free does mean, of course, we have to have some give and take, some compromises. Not everyone can be like, my way or the highway, right? But when we all want everyone to succeed and exceed their expectations, since that word came out, I might as well run with it.
yeah.
I mean, that's really what we all feel in this community, is
Mm,
that everyone that I've talked to has that desire, that everyone has that equal access to living the life that they want. And there really are enough resources here. So
mm,
I'm just wanting to dispel the myth that we have to climb over each other or grab for what we can. because
Mm,
there really is enough for all. There really can be the same balance that we find in the forests in our human societies
mm,
when each one of us chooses that, chooses to stand in our sovereignty and claim that we don't have to do anything that we don't want to,
mm,
that and recognize where we're making choices that aren't aligned with our vision and make different choices. And so I
mm,
think
mm,
that's like my biggest vision is that everyone could feel sovereign in their being
mm,
and navigate, the efforts of these power dynamics to control us, to just not stand for it, not play into those games,
mm,
because they can't actually control our minds unless we let them.
mm,
And
mm.
and when we reclaim our personal health and well-being, then we're unstoppable, like you said earlier.
Oh, oh, that's beautiful, Kira. And like, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. It's one of the reasons I worked as a coach for such a long time. And now finally, like, merging all these skills that I have and like really getting to coach people to stand in their full power, in their full sovereignty. And like you said, that includes the basics, like getting clean water and clean food and clean air and becoming then also the mind clears, right? Would love, we haven't actually discussed that, but we're actually moving into a beautiful container that we created where we will also like lead women through water fasting and also activation of their bigger purpose. Would love to just end with um, some words about why that is important, how fasting actually also clears your mind and your gives you like the vision back, and how this all merges together of actually like expanding what you think is possible and then actually taking the steps. So yeah, I say a lot of questions in once, but would love for you to just
Yeah.
share a little bit what we're creating, because yeah, it's a beautiful thing that's just coming
Yeah.
coming into being here.
Yes, I am so excited for the visionary vessel recalibration. It is really I'm recalibrating in the process of co-creating with Maneka and Saber in this container. It's such a gift. And so the first thing that happens with fasting, and this is even with intermittent fasting, you don't have to go for days and days, just a number of hours, a longer period than just sleeping overnight. So I don't remember off the top of my head all the numbers, so I'm not going to say exact numbers of where this starts to happen. But when we take a break from food, it actually rests our digestive system, and our body goes through a process called autophagy. And autophagy is where your body starts to recycle all of the damaged proteins and the cellular waste and mutated cells and anything that's not functioning at its optimal functionality. And it doesn't just clean them up and send them out through the lymphatic system. It actually does recycle the raw materials into healthy cells, because
Mm,
our cells are always constantly dividing and growing.
mm,
And if we're overloading with foods, especially really heavy, hard to digest foods, then our whole system gets clogged. And
mm,
there's, like we were talking about, the electrical system in the body. And I notice immediately when I'm eating lighter, I don't get the mid-afternoon crash. I don't need as much sleep to feel rested. I don't
mm,
know if I sleep more when I'm eating. I just don't feel as rested.
mm,
I just feel more tired if I'm eating too much.
mm,
This is even just in terms of only eating what your body needs. Longevity studies all around the world, there are different places they call blue zones where people live longer on average than in other places. And one of the things that they found in all of these places is what they call calorie deprivation. This doesn't mean the people are starving. It just means that they only eat as much as they need. They're not
Mhm.
eating more than they need. And
Mm,
that allows your body to live longer. So,
mm,
fasting is an opportunity to regenerate at the
mm,
cellular
mm,
level, at the organ level. The particular cleanse that I'm guiding in terms of what foods we're going to use to prepare for the water fast is really focused in this container on resting and regenerating the liver and the gallbladder. And the liver is the largest organ in our system. It's responsible for cleaning out all of the toxins and digesting fats. And
mm,
when we allow the liver a break, it actually does regenerate. We
mm,
think that we've like grown up into adults and we're just done with growing, but that's not true. We're growing physically, not just emotionally and mentally, but we're actually continuing to grow through our entire lives. And after 7 years, the cells in your body are completely replaced with new cells.
mm,
And
mm,
yet, if you're doing the same patterns that are unhealthy, your new cells are going to grow up with those same unhealthy patterns. So,
mm,
when we take a break from food, and especially if we bring in the most hydrating water and really nourish our cells in that way, then our body can completely regenerate. And, we're not allowed to say that diseases can be cured. That's something reserved for the medical system, which I don't believe cures anything. It's all about symptom suppression, right? But our
mm,
body knows how to heal and regenerate, and diseases can naturally reverse without us doing anything
mm,
except giving our body only what it needs
mm,
and no more, none of the excess toxins that show up in our processed foods.
mm. That is so, so true, Kira. And how important it is, like we said, the sovereignty starts with giving ourselves exactly like just pure good like resources and including like including the mindset and love and all of those things like clean water,
Mm-hmm.
clean air, all the basics, but also the need for peace, for being in nature, for like being in community, like and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
completely with you. That's how we make the world a better place. It's like it starts with
Yes, and
everyone.
yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're not just inviting into the visionary vessel recalibration to reset the physical body, but also to clear out the mind, to
Mm,
clear out toxic emotions, because our body tissues actually hold the toxic emotions just like they hold the toxic food residues, the
mm,
toxins from our past traumas. And so
mm.
when we clear those out, we really can see what's on the horizon, as Maneka said. I'm taking your words from another conversation, but I loved that so much. We really
Mm,
can see what our soul calls in for us, what
mm,
our bigger vision purpose is, and
mm,
step into that from a place of sovereignty and clarity and inner truth and certainty that we're
mm.
on the right path.
Mm. Oh, beautiful, Kira. I think that's amazing last words. If you don't want to add anything, anything more, but
Mm,
really, really
mm,
enjoyed this conversation and yeah, so happy to hear all your wisdom, all your story, the ups and the downs, and how you've, mastered so many things in your life to that degree. And so happy for you to share that. And looking forward to really holding this container together with you. And I think it's going to be so, so beautiful. So
yes,
thank
it
you.
already is.
Yeah, the sovereign
Mhm.
ladies are stepping up.
Yes, Yes.
Yoo-hoo.
Oh, thank you so much, Maneka. And thank you to everyone who watched this today. It's such a gift and an honor to be able to share with you.
Thank you, Kira, and see you soon again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.